Okay. It's like the fifth time I've tried to record this intro. First, please excuse the noise. My bedroom is an attic. It has been extremely hot today. It was like 80 out of nowhere. I have been running a desk fan, a large desk fan, all day, and my window is open, and it is late, and I live on a main road. So, earlier today, this video from Mariengrad RPG, where they basically describe if they had 2 years of game knowledge and no meta knowledge, what they would have done with their HSR account. This popped into my recommended. And I wanted to do a similar thought experiment with the stipulation of having full meta knowledge. I want to make the best account you possibly could with the stipulation of only having 24 costs to work with over the past 2 years, and with the stipulation of being a year 3 player with those 2 years of game knowledge and having full foresight for what the meta is going to look like throughout the game. However, I have a couple approaches to this. I spitballed with some friends the idea to make a more vertical version, which optimized the pathing to optimize the account as opposed to just clearing. And this led to some lulls. I believe the back half of 1.x and the early mid 2.x were really rough, and I found this variant a little more interesting. We're going to build the hypothetical best horizontally invested account with the max verticality being E0S1 that you could have as a free-to-play player who knew what the game was going to look like for the next 2 years. So, to start off, we have 1.0. And the 1.0 units are Sela and Jingyuan. Sela is a very weird case. I don't think she had the best longevity. A lot of Sela mains think she had really good longevity. But as one of those Sela mains, I think she stopped being really good at 1.4. I think 1.3 was the hard power creep cutoff for her, and 1.4 was when she truly fell off. But I also think she is kind of detrimental for the account, because the quantum set, while strong, is not the best as we've gotten more dedicated sets. It is the equivalent on most units, on a unit that isn't exactly Jade after launch. It is effectively a set that exclusively has Defense Shred on it. And it is sharing with the Wuthering set, which is a really bad damage reduction set. So I think Sela is not resin efficient, she's not pull efficient, and she doesn't have a ton of longevity. Jingyuan, on the other hand, I think is this account's first limited unit. I know he gets a lot of hate. I know he's considered mid-yuan by a lot of people. But he has the highest longevity of any 1.x DPS unit. He has his burst of being considered mid but playable for the first few patches. He's good enough to clear stuff. Then he starts getting supports and Pure Fiction comes out, and you want really good Pure Fiction options, especially early. The early Pure Fictions, if you didn't have Jingyuan or DOT, were really rough. I played personally with DOT, but I can't imagine playing it without an AoE lightning character like Jingyuan or Kafka. He kind of falls off in early mid 2.x because of other options and his new best units being stolen by better teams. But at the end of 2.x, he gets revitalized in a way that has him competitive with the 3.0 equivalent and the 2.1 equivalent in Acheron and Aglaia. He stays on pace with them, despite being from 1.0 and being considered bad on his release. So we're going to go for him. We're going to go for his light cone. He is going to be the cardinal point of this account. We're going to run him with Clara for a little while as the two main teams, and then we'll divert a bit. 1.1, Silverwolf is going to be a skip. I personally knew this unit didn't have much of a shelf life when she came out, and now, more than ever, having played her more with Acheron than I ever did Seela, she's not worth it for an account. Also, at the point that I'm doing this, we have no idea what her buffs are. If her buffs are massive, maybe this becomes recontextualized, but I don't think she's worth the 1 or 2 cost. She would bring this account for a very brief period of use, just over other supports. That is 1 or 2 costs that could go to Tribby, that could go to Robin, that could go to Sunday, that could go to even someone a little more niche like Fugue, that would just be wasted on Silverwolf. The other 1.1 unit, Luocha, this is a skip unless we find somewhere to take out a light cone. Luocha isn't the best premium sustain, but SP positivity is big in the early days. Buff cleansing is actually a lot bigger in the early days than it is now, because the Disciples of Sanctus Medicus, the fat ones, are in MOC very regularly, and they're very annoying to fight if you don't have Dan Heng at that point in time. Until Jingliu comes out, really, they aren't great to fight, and Pela is your only other buff stripper. Luocha provides that. He provides an earlier premium sustain than some of the other options we might go for. He doesn't need a light cone to function, and theoretically, with some of the 3.x units, maybe we get them, maybe we don't, he has legitimate synergies. A unit he has a legitimate synergy with that we're not pulling is Blade. Blade was pretty solid on release. He was definitely overhated, and I think he's aged a little bit better as time has gone on. You saw my last video was unintentionally Blade propaganda. I lost my 50-50 to him. I started toying around with him. He, legitimately is my second best built DPS. My Casterus passed him tonight. He has my my second highest stat score on Fribbles. So I am suddenly a Blade knower, and I know that he's just not worth the 2 cost to take through this time. There are better win DPS we can get down the line. There are more effective DPS we can get. And even his most efficient team, or most efficient, quote-unquote, in Jingliu Blade, just really never worked to begin with. So we're not even going to consider that. Kafka is also a skip. She's redundant with Jingyuan, and with the 2 years of meta knowledge, we know that DOT doesn't get another direct support unit until patch 2.0, and doesn't get one at all after 2.0. Kafka is a liability, and once again, we don't know what her buffs entail. We don't know what Blade's buffs entail either, but I think he held up the best out of the units that are getting buffed. Kafka she doesn't help our account because we already have Jingyuan as one of our DPS, and she is she helps an archetype that doesn't really exist, that we were all specking into, expecting it to exist. Dan Heng was, on his release, the best DPS in the game. He was, in my opinion, the best DPS in the game until the release of Acheron. I personally do not think Jingliu was ever better. We're skipping Dan Heng. The reason we're skipping Dan Heng is not because I dislike Dan Heng. It's because Dan Heng comes with the weight of, one, really wanting vertical investment. He really wants that E2 to stay afloat to mid-Penacony. He really wants Luocha, and he really wants Sparkle. For all intents and purposes, Sparkle is, as of now, there is the possibility of this changing in 3.x. As of now, Sparkle is the worst 5-star Harmony in the game. She would be a mandatory pickup and a mandatory loss of cost if we were to go for Dan Heng. And I just don't think that's really worth. Fu Xuan, I'm also going to say we skip. And I think she has immense value for this point in the game. But we also have the knowledge that if we want her, she's available later. We can get her from 50-50 losses. Knowing that, I don't want to put pulls into her on this hypothetical account because just there's always the chance we hit her later. She would help the account a lot at this point, especially if we decide to get her instead of Luocha. However, I also wrote her off because she is the guaranteed highest cost sustain. She needs her cone. Luocha doesn't need a cone at all. Huahua can get away without her cone. Aventurine, if you're not getting Acheron, can get away without his cone. Lingsha can get away without her cone. But Fu Xuan really can't because there aren't preservation cone options for HP scalers. So we're going to skip her. As much as she would actually be a good add, she'd be giving 12% crit rate to Jingyuan. She would be benefiting the account a lot, but I think she's a bit expensive of an add. Jingliu, I think, has one of the worst DPS shelf lives. I say this as a Jingliu main. I pulled E1 S1 when she released. I pulled E2 on her rerun when Acheron came out. Jingliu fell off a cliff. And she is getting her buffs in 3.4. We once again don't know what they are. And she wouldn't be the most expensive addition to the account. However, I just think with how fast she gets phased out, she's not worth putting here. She's not worth investing into. Our second guaranteed E0S1 pull is going to be Topaz. It's been a while. Jingyuan's starting to fall off a teeny bit. Clara's starting to fall off a little bit more. We need a hyper carry. Or not a hyper carry. We need a second DPS. And Topaz offers that. And with Topaz, we know we're building into an archetype. We know Ratio comes out for free in a couple patches. We know we could potentially get Fei Zhao down the line. Topaz is, in my opinion, the best second add guaranteed. Because we might have Luocha depending on cone placements. I 100% think getting Topaz is good. Because it sets us up to use follow-up attack regardless of the route we take it in the future. It's a stepping stone to our second big team. And that second big team is something I'm playing to this day. So, yeah. Huahua, we can skip S1 Huahua. Huahua's cone is very good. I like using it. But Abundance has very good options. We are picking up Huahua, though. Being an energy support, really versatile, especially because I don't think this account ends up going for any proprietary energy units. Just saying it as it is right now. We're going to skip Acheron, we're going to skip Fei Zhao, we're going to skip Casterus. Huahua helps all of our DPS on this account equally. Or not equally, but she helps them all. She is a high-value sustain at this point in the game. She really helps for Pure Fiction as well, with energy cycling for, like, Himiko Herta. And this assumes the worst luck, as it says. So we're going to assume we have all the standard units pretty much by the time it matters. It's reasonable to assume you got Clara Branya and both sustains in 1.0, and then Himiko by Pure Fiction. But Topaz, going to be the second DPS on the account. Potential third, Argenti. Argenti is going to serve as the Pure Fiction carry if we can slot him in. We're going to get E0, S0 Argenti. Erudition DPSs actually have very good accessible cone options. Eternal Calculus later on is pretty good, but Breakfast for free, really good. Genius's Repose from the gacha, really good. Later on, we're going to get the Ruanmei Cake Cone and the Owlbert Cone from the shop and events. Those are going to be really good. Argenti is going to be basically only there to guarantee Pure Fiction works out. He is not the best DPS. We might be able to slot him into a couple MOCs here or there, but his main purpose is making Pure Fiction comfortable. Ruanmei, we're pulling E0S1. She is the first limited harmony. She is an insane generalist. She helps an entire archetype down the line. She does so much for the account. We even get E1 later on in the account. So, Ruanmei, 100% pulling. And then, Dr. Ratio, we're going to get the S1 for. Ratio will only count as one cost for this account. And I believe speccing into RRAT as our second main team, as the team to go into 2.x with, is pretty smart. I played RRAT. I never played RRAT. That's a lie. I played Ratio Topaz from just testing Ratio when he came out in 1.6 to the day 2.5 came out when I got Fei Zhao. This team, even though I don't like Ratio, carried me through so much. And I think having it at near full power will very much benefit this account. Although it may hurt for a very short period of time, which we'll see. 2.0, Penacony. Black Swan, for the same reason as Kafka, we're skipping. DOT is a dead archetype, and we already don't have Kafka to use with her. Her E1 is, like, good with Acheron, but we're not getting Acheron, as we already discussed. And as we already discussed, we're not getting Sparkle. She's bad. We aren't using Dan Heng. No real reason to get her. Acheron has a bit more nuance to skipping her. This nuance comes in a few things. First, she's expensive. We need the 4 cost on her, at least, or we need 2 cost on her. She would be a decent vertical investment option because her E2 is really good. But we also need to spend a cost on Jiaoqiu. And Jiaoqiu is a completely dedicated support. And with one exception, I don't like the idea of dedicated supports on this account. Acheron is just too expensive to validate putting here. Especially with a Jingyuan that we're going to be speccing into as the time goes on. She's just too much for something we're already hitting. So, she's not even worth considering to me. My personal experiences with this unit have jaded me into thinking that she's not a good pickup for the hypothetical horizontal account that we're working on here. Aventurine, however, absolutely is. He is, to this day, in my opinion, the best unit in the game. Sunday may rival him, but I think Avon just adds so much to an account. He is an extremely general sustain. You can build him for sub DPS. He perfects the follow-up attack team. He's so good for the account. We can skip S1. His S1 is very good, but Moment of Victory, Japard's Light Cone, is good enough for the purposes of using him as a sustain. We're not getting Acheron, so we don't need to run Trend or his Cone. We can afford to take the cost hit on him, save a cost, so we can pick up Luocha or Argenti earlier. Probably leaning Argenti. I don't think we commit to Luocha. I think we're going to be one cost off the total here based on that tier, because Ratio is getting the S1 from one of the S1 skippers. Not an S1 skipper. We're getting Robin. We're getting her E0 S1. Our rat is full powered by the time it releases. Robin, I think a little lowly of relative to a lot of other people. I don't think she's the best Harmony in the game. I don't think she's the second best Harmony in the game. I don't know if I think she's the third best Harmony in the game anymore. But she is my favorite character. I've played a ton with her. I never really played with her at E0S1. I had E1 before I started using her. I think I played her a little bit at E0S0. I played E1S1, I played E2S1, I played E3S1, and now she's my first E6. Robin is my favorite character. Obviously, we have the If I Can Stop One Heart from Breaking in the background. She does a lot for this account. She's going to help our rat in the short term. She's going to help Jingyuan in the long term. She's going to help potential future attack scaling teams. She's big. Boothill is weird. He is a hypothetical option. He held up the best of the break carries into power creep. He scaled the best of the break carries with new supports. However, he is less general than Firefly. And I don't think investing into someone slightly specialized like him, whereas he's really good for Apocalyptic Shadow, solid in MOC, and kind of bad for Pure Fiction. We have R-Rat, which is good in MOC, good in Apocalyptic Shadow. We have Jingyuan, fine in MOC, good in Apocalyptic Shadow, great in Pure Fiction. I guess he is similar to Jingyuan in terms of his performance over all the modes, but he offers... Jingyuan just offers longevity. We go for him because he's available in 1.0, and we're still using him in 3.2. Boothill, I don't think that's the play. I have a friend who mains Boothill. His Boothill has carried him through content, but I don't necessarily think he is the best pickup for this account. What I think is the worst pickup this account will do, well, maybe one more. We're going to get E0S1 Firefly. Firefly is one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite teams to play. I love Firefly. I think she is the least... She has the least lifespan of any unit that we're going to be pulling here. She's only going to be part of one of the main teams. We're going to shelf Jingyuan for the rest of 2.x until 2.7, and we're going to bring in Firefly. However, with Firefly comes the fact that every endgame mode until the end of Penacony really benefits her. She's going to see the least dedicated use. We're going to kind of phase her out in 3.0. I personally kind of phased mine out in 3.0. But she is going to carry so much weight on her back in the short time she's going to be necessary, to the point where even if we're only using her for 4 patches as one of the main DPSs, that's 4 patches where we don't have to worry, because she just tears things up. And now, in terms of cost, we're at 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 if we count these two. We're afforded 9 more cost. Jade, in the vertical timeline, we get an E1 S1 Jade, and that becomes our generalist. But in the horizontal timeline, Jade isn't really gonna be too much of... She's too hard of a sell, and she's not a great unit at D0S1. She works with, like, Herta and Blade, and that's it, and you really want E1 to make her click, and that's an expensive investment, one that this account isn't willing to make, so I just don't think we go for Jade at all. Yunli is a character I like, but I just don't think she's worth it. She's good. She could definitely hold up, but I just don't see her as very worth it. She's a novelty DPS more than an account warping DPS, and when you're pulling with as little legroom as we are on this hypothetical account, Yunli's just not worth it. I enjoy using her. I got her cone on her rerun. I've been meaning to play her more, but I don't think she has a place on this account. Jiao Cho, we skip. He's Acheron's best support and no one else. He's just not worth getting on an account that that's only going to be pulling for... We're gonna rewind the music here. This is not being added in post, but we're running out of time on the... I'm using a 30-minute extended and I can't find the loop button. Jiao Cho. Great for Acheron. Okay for everyone else. And we've pulled Ruan Mei and Robin. We don't really need an Nihility clogging up team space and clogging up a cost or two. Would I like him on my main account? Yeah. Is Aglaya supposedly coming back fast enough that I can validate not getting him? Yeah. Acheron's just kind of a dud. Unless you go hard on her. She's not an easy maintenance DPS. She's not a set and forget. Fire weather. I'm gonna look at that later. 2.5 is where things get surprising. We're gonna skip Fei Zhao. I do not think skipping Fei Zhao is necessarily the smartest play. However, R-Rat is playable enough at this point in time that Fei Zhao isn't required to keep the team afloat. And I'm going to spoil it flat out. We're getting a Naxa. So Fei Zhao isn't really gonna be the best character for this, because we know she's getting a replacement down the line. She's 2 costs to make a team that we already have stronger, which is a team that is going to get phased out relatively soon. But I could see an argument for her, but because it's 2 cost, it's a little harder to argue. Lingsha, we could consider going for the E0S0 Lingsha, but we have Gallagher, who fulfills a pretty similar purpose. Lingsha is a bit of an expensive add to the account. Or not expensive, she's only 1 cost. But we already have Huohuo and Aventurine. Do we really need the 5-star Gallagher option when Gallagher's performing just fine on Firefly at this point? And I mean, any sustain really works with Herta. Let's be real. Rappa, we're going to skip. Rappa has the least longevity of any DPS in the game. I know this is inconsistent with my channel, where I played her for, like, the first 6 endgame videos I did. But I think she has the least... She has the least shilling period, accompanied by... Or she has the shortest shilling period, accompanied by her gimmick not scaling great, because she's a break DPS, but unlike Boot Hill, She's not a break DPS that benefits from higher toughness bars, and unlike Firefly, she didn't have nearly as much time in the sun. Speaking of sun, since the sun is rising and it's Sunday, we're pulling Sunday. Sunday is going to bring Jing Yuan back into contention, and Robin is going to move over to the Jing Yuan team to replace R-Rat. Jing Yuan and Firefly are going to be the teams for a little bit longer. Jing Yuan gets hugely buffed by Sunday, and his cone is just way too valuable to pass up with the SP efficiency it brings to the team. This could be the worst 2-cost. No, this is a 1-cost. Fugue, we're going to consider skipping out on the cone to facilitate actually building up the account. I think if we skip one more cone, we afford every unit on this list. Fugue is mainly here to replace Harmony Trailblazer for Firefly, like she was realistically designed to do. She is here to free up RMC for potential 3.x teams, and while Firefly isn't going to be one of the main teams for this account going forward, having that option for 1 extra cost to keep her up and running alongside a 3.x DPS is very helpful. The Herda is an obvious pull. She is such an account fixer, where E0S0 or E0S1, you're set for a while for Pure Fiction. She's still dominating Pure Fiction. She's still zero cycling MOC with minimal cost. She's performing fine into Apocalyptic Shadow. I did outscore her with Castris earlier, but she's performing fine in all modes. She's showing no signs of falling off. All of the content is AoE shilling for a little while. Herda's a must pull for an account that's as strapped as this. Aglaya is a weird case. This account would scale really well into Aglaya, but it just can't afford that 2-cost right now, because it would need 2-cost, because we don't have access to the Battle Pass Light Cone, because this is a free-to-play account. She would need the 2-cost to get her personal Light Cone, and that just makes her really expensive to replace a unit we've been using since day one directly. This is a case of the account was made to optimize the team efficiency, and a direct one-to-one replacement isn't worth the cost when Jing Yuan's still performing at a pretty similar level at the time she releases. Tribby is a cone skipper under the circumstance that we either have an S5 Dance, or we delay getting Robin's cone until Aglaya's release for Dance. If we don't skip DDD, we gotta get Tribby's cone. Tribby's cone is really nice quality of life, but I don't think it's necessary quality of life for the teams that we're playing. I think a little lower of E0 Tribby than a lot of people might. She's still very good, but that E1 is huge, and on a vertical account, you are absolutely getting the E1 Tribby. But here, we're going to make do without it. We're going to make do with probably E0S0, because I do believe we get 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24 cost on the dot. Plus the E1 Ruan Mei that we get for free. Maide, we have a functional Maide team in Sunday Trivy, but we're just not going to use him. Again, he's theoretically fine. He doesn't really impact anything, but I just think Anaxa is a much better 2-cost. Similar to Casterus. Casterus is awesome. She's my best built unit. I'm considering going vertical on her. I really like her character. I really like her gameplay. But she is something that isn't going to scale very well with what we know about upcoming units. While Anaxa, the final unit, is going to be a pull. Anaxa gets better the less you have on your account, in a similar way to Silverwolf. And this account doesn't have much. Anaxa offers a stronger Herda team. Anaxa offers a possible hypercarry team. We can run Herda, a 4-star erudition, Tribby, and one of the sustains. And we can run Anaxa with Sunday, Robin, and either RMC or another one of the sustains on the other side. We can run Herda with Anaxa. A lot of great options come from Anaxa. Future pulls, I don't know how much cost we're getting added. We're skipping these two. I think we skip Fate, although we don't know the units. We probably skip Phynon because he might want a dedicated support. Saradra and Hysolins just don't seem crazy. The mysterious 3.6 units, maybe we go for the first one because he might be an upgrade. We don't have any idea on the second one, and maybe we go for the 3.7 unit because Memimem. So this is, in my opinion, the perfect quintessential free-to-play hypothetical account. If you were free-to-play, you only had 24 cost, you had the worst possible luck. From launch, what 24 costs would you get? We're getting the E0S1 Genuine, and running him alongside probably Clara in 1.x for MOC. We're going to pick up Luocha in 1.1. We're going to be using just Genuine Clara until we get Topaz. We're going to run Genuine and Hypercarry Topaz for that brief point between 1.4 and 1.6. With Himiko Herda coming out for Pure Fiction. We're going to get Ruanmei and Dr. Ratio in 1.6. Strengthen up the account. Huahua in 1.5. Very good sustain. Argenti in 1.5 to help clean up Pure Fiction. Ruanmei and Dr. Ratio in 1.6. Really bolster the account. We have now a better Genuine team and a really, really good follow-up attack team. We're going to get Aventurine in 2.1, Robin in 2.2. Really bulk up that follow-up attack team. And in 2.3, we're going to invest in Firefly a little bit just to let Genuine rest because he's going to fall off. His best teammates are being appropriated. And a lot of content really benefits Firefly. We're going to skip a lot of this patch cycle. We're going to get Lingsha just as an option. We could potentially skip Lingsha to get S1 Trivy, but really these two are preferential. Tingyun, Cone, I don't really know. And then in 2.7, we're going to get Sunday and Tingyun. Tingyun just to give Firefly a little bit more shelf life, and Sunday to put Genuine back on the map and put the follow-up attack team to rest for a little while. 3.0, we're going to get Herda. 3.1, we're going to get Tribby. 3.2, we're going to get Anaxa to scale into the power creep. This was an interesting Yap session for me, and this was an interesting thought experiment earlier in the day. I would like to thank Mariengrad RPG for helping me come up with the video. This was a pretty good video. I didn't really agree with the account they ended up making because this was with no meta knowledge, but full account knowledge or full gameplay knowledge. I don't really agree with this. They also counted light cones as a quarter cost, which I think ends up as, so you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, I think light cones were counted as a quarter cost. I don't know. This was, what if someone from today was thrust into 2023 and tasked with playing the game without spending a cent, but also wanted to go vertical instead of, or wanted to go horizontal instead of vertical to make sure everything could be cleared at all times. This, I think, is the correct account. If you have any ideas on how to potentially route this account better, be my guest, leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed the style of Yap and Thought Experiment, leave that in the comments, and also like and subscribe if you did. And I will see you next video, where I don't know if I'm gonna do something showcasey this week, or if we're just gonna cut to the new Pure Fiction next Monday. I don't know. Thank you for watching. This was a lot longer than I expected.